The Old Man and the Wisdom. Once there was a small kingdom in the north of Scotland. The king who ruled that kingdom was a very foolish fellow. He never knew what the real world was, and he could do nothing for the prosperity of the subjects. He lived for his own welfare and comfort. He was always a pleasure seeker. In short, he was a good for nothing. The king had not liked old people. Once, when he saw an old sick person creeping along the street very strenuously, for he was very weak and had almost lost his eyesight, he felt it as a grotesque sight, and ordered his men to kill off all the aged people in the kingdom. The king's words were so inviolable that the soldiers began to massacre the old people. In the assassination, they lost the lives of their dear parents. There were a lot of aged people even in the palace to help the king in his administration. They were also brutally murdered. Syamu was a soldier. His only relative in the world was his old father. He did not like his father to be killed. Very covertly, he built a cellar just under his house and kept his father inside. Every day he fed him well, very carefully not to fall this affair in anybody's sight. One day, the king was sauntering on the terrace of his splendid bungalow. He looked around to see the distant places, but he felt uneasy when the trees which stood in the surroundings higher than the bungalow blocked his vision. He thought that the trees were a great disturbance to his pleasure. He ordered his men to cut down all the trees in the kingdom. The king's men carried out the order. Syamu's father was informed of this unduly action of the king. He advised his son, "My dear son, this rash and rubbish action of the king will bring severe drought and famine in the country. So, reserve whatever you want for 5 or 6 years. I am sure the nature will have its revenge." Syamu collected all he wanted for 6 years and very secretly kept them all in the cellar with his father. Very soon, the humidity in the atmosphere increased to its maximum, and the people began to die of extreme hot climate. The sky was always very clear without any sign of even a single rain cloud. The sun rays directly pierced into the ground through the hot and polluted air, and the fields and the plantations dried off completely. Horrible drought and famine stormed heavily all over. The king feared when he saw people dying of poverty and bad climatic conditions. He was not sure that his irrelevant actions were the reason of all these anarchies. He negotiated with his young courtiers, but none could forward a suitable suggestion as how to overcome that situation. The king thought, "All my previous officials were aged people. If they had been with me, they would have been able to solve this bad situation. But I killed all of them. I am ruined. I am a sinner not deserve for forgiveness. He cried aloud. Knowing that the king was changed a lot and his attitude towards the aged people was also changed, Shamu visited him one day. He said, Your Majesty, you needn't worry in the loss of aged people. My father is still alive. I am sure he can solve this situation. Shamu's father was called to the court. He said, As soon as possible, please plant little saplings of all kinds of trees and shrubs everywhere in the kingdom. Bring them from the neighboring countries. I am sure the water might not go too deep in the ground. Dig wells and ponds everywhere in the country. As he proposed, the king did everything, and at last again there appeared greenishness everywhere in the country. Gradually the state of the country changed and it again prospered.